Apparently, there's some Nintendo news. Oh, goodness gracious me. I gotta hear about this. Nintendo wants to kill Switch 2 games key cards. Backlash intensifies after Nintendo Switch 2 game key card situation worsens. Oh boy. Oh boy. I gotta know about this, to be honest. I have to see this.
Game keycards continue to plague the conversation surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2, and it really is a damn shame because people really thought that Nintendo was one of the last bastions of taking games preservation and physical media seriously, with Switch 2 continuing to use cartridges, but then they introduced the concept of game keycards, which you can see right here, a summary that basically describes this as physical media that requires a digital download. It is physical media that doesn't have all the game data in it. The card itself just serves as a key to access the downloaded digital product.
I'll be playing it on Sunday.
The card itself does not contain the necessary files to play the game, so you might as well just buy the game digitally, as that at least offers the convenience of not having to carry around physical media with the...
That's funny because this was the... Hey man, it's not my fault that the Nintendo people decided to gobble this up, you know, and spend their money on it, so... I'm just saying. It ain't my fault. Hey man, that's your guys' Nintendo ecosystem. You guys can deal with it. That is not my problem.
Only advantage being the ability to lend the game to somebody, but as far as like keeping the game forever and feeling like you own the game is concerned, none of that is present here. And it goes without saying that people are really not fans of that, especially enthusiasts and, you know, gamers who are really into the hobby, who understand the importance of games preservation and how physical media ultimately empowers that. So many launch titles on the Nintendo Switch 2 and so many upcoming releases will be game key cards. You can see right here,
Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Hey Code. With your experience, what do you think about this guy's VA work? I don't know his VA work. I know that he got backlash or so when he was doing the Kiryu voice. I only heard his Kiryu voice like I think one time, and that's pretty much it. But I've never heard him like do the entire... Maybe we can like look up to see like his VA or so. And what did he do anyways? What's his VA work? Is there like a compilation video for it? We can take a look at it.
Among many that you'll find online. Now, Nintendo is releasing all of their games and regular game cards. All the first-party releases so far have all been housed within the physical media, including the most recent Donkey Kong Bonanza, and a handful of third-party games, particularly the Switch 2 edition stuff, is coming out on regular game cards, and CD Projekt itself is an exception in that they managed to fit the massive game that is Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which includes the DLC, in a full game card and not made it a game key card. But that aside, the vast majority of third-party games are
on
game
the chip
key cards,
itself,
which is really disappointing to see. And look, this is nothing new. A lot of physical versions of games these days don't house all of the game data, and you've got companies like Ubisoft in particular who release physical editions of games and still require essentially a download, a little patch that serves as a key to unlock the game. So it renders...
It's pretty stupid in my personal opinion, you know, that you still have to have internet access in order for you to play the game. Like, you know, I still have PS4 games over there, like on my shelf over there that I haven't gotten to play them or so, right? Because, you know, life, busy, everything like that. But I can play them even if I don't have internet, and there's literally no problem of me like installing the game and playing it without any problems whatsoever. So
is the physical media useless in the form that you would anticipate.
Also, on top of that, the last Ubisoft game that I ever bought from Ubisoft was Far Cry Blood Dragon. That's literally the last Ubisoft game I ever bought.
It to be in, but seeing how prominent proper physical media was on the Nintendo Switch 1,
how can I steal if I don't own?
And seeing this transition towards game key cards and giving that option to publishers to essentially give players the short end of the stick as far as physical media is concerned, it's just really unfortunate, and it's only going to further fuel the bad habit that the games industry has of not preserving games and not giving players a certain sense of ownership over the media that they own. And the unfortunate thing is that even months after launch, game key cards continue to plague the third-party scene. But before we get to that, speaking of bad habits, that brings us to the sponsor of today's video, Fume, a company dedicated to helping people transition out of and replace
smoking.
habits
Anyways,
for free. All right, so let's talk about ways in which the game key card format continues to plague the conversation surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2, starting with the recent Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase from July 31st, 2025.
I said it years ago, while I hate people like Nintendo guys that slurp up anything Nintendo drops, it's also the fault of the other companies for doing stupid shit and also not giving Nintendo any competition or reason not to do scummy things. Well, they're the ones who are probably in the handheld market at this very moment. So I know that Xbox released their quote-unquote handheld, and I know Sony is working on a handheld right now at the moment, saying that like production will start in next year. Rumor has it. We'll see what it is. You know, maybe they'll actually start supporting the fucking handheld. You know, because they gave up so fast on the PS Vita for Sony. Anyways, I'm just like, I have my Vita over there. But the only thing I don't have for my Vita is a memory stick, and that's pretty much it. You know, I don't have a memory stick, so I need to go buy a memory stick in order for me to play games on my Vita, which is a little bit of a pain in the ass, in my personal opinion. So
this was focused on third-party releases.
I still have my PSPs too, as well.
A lot of these releases in the physical,
with, of course, Monster Hunter on them, of course, Generations and Monster Hunter 2 on the PSP. Yes. Yeah.
Format will be in the form of game key cards. In fact, there are plenty of articles highlighting how fans felt severely underwhelmed and disappointed at the number.
What do you mean? What do you mean you guys are underwhelmed? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Aren't the Nintendo boys, Nintendo slob goblins are saying that like it's great, nothing's happening here, you know? What's going on? What's happening, huh?
Game showcase that will be game key cards, and plenty of posts on social media like this right here from Genki saying Nintendo Game Key Card Partner Showcase, highlighting how many of the highly anticipated third-party games and ports for the Nintendo Switch 2, like Octopath Traveler 0, Persona 3 Reload.
Octopath 0 will probably come out on PC anyways, because Octopath 1 is on PC, so I'm just like, eh.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and Pac-Man World Repack 2
I don't care. I don't care. That's not my problem. Not my problem.
Of physical media for the most part. And what's strange about these games in particular, as Genki highlights here, is that all of them are under 64 gigabytes, so they can fit in the card. Like, it'd be one thing if these game files were so big that they just literally cannot fit in a regular game card, but these absolutely can. And so it makes this decision that spits in the face of physical media enthusiasts just all the more baffling and all the more disappointing. I mean, when Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition can be all fit into a 64 gigabyte game card, there is no excuse for games like these to not be able to do the same.
Yeah, there is. It's called money. That's the reason why. Money.
Given that that is a much less complicated process, as these game files are not as big as Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. If CD Projekt is capable of pulling this off, then so can all these third-party entities. Now, what it all ultimately comes down to is this being a cost-cutting measure. As Zainal Ahmad explains here, 64 gigabyte game cards are significantly more expensive than discs for game makers, so you have to price games above 60. It's just cheaper for game companies to release games digitally and to put their games in the game key cards that are not high capacity, high storage, and cheapen out that way just to be able to have better margins for each game sale. But my counter argument to that is that you should just price the physical editions at a higher price point to make up for that difference, to make up for the lower margins. Like, I'm willing to pay a little extra to make up for that cost.
How much extra are we talking about here? That's the question to ask. How much extra are we talking about here, huh? Huh? How much are you willing to pay, huh? You're willing to pay $90 for Mario Kart World, huh?
means that I get to own an object that I can just insert, plug, and play. Obviously, there's going to be patches and stuff to download, but as long as there's some version of the game that I can play from that cartridge without having to depend on service providers, being up and running and having
I
the
don't know,
required
man.
patches to
I
be
don't
able
know.
to
I
run
feel
the
like
game,
there's
as
a
long as I
breaking
can
point or
run the
so for
game in
people
some way,
paying
shape, or
extra
form
money
through
or
physical media
so,
that I own, like I'll be satisfied. And so having that option to pay a little more for a full-fledged game card for games, like to me, that would be an ideal solution. But in general, regular game cards are just more of a hassle for companies.
For people who are like living paycheck to paycheck, they're not gonna pay a little extra for a physical copy. They're not. I understand that he can, because he's a YouTuber and he's a voice actor. He got that extra money. But like the normal average Joe or so, Joe Schmo, don't think so. I personally do not think so.
So they want to go the easiest route possible with the least friction. Now, if you're going to go this route, at the very least, be honest about why you're going this route of game key cards. There's some companies trying to justify this as this being good for players, which is just factually and decidedly not true. So among companies putting out a statement about game key cards is NIS America, speaking about Trails Beyond the Horizon for the Nintendo Switch 2, which will be a game key card release. That's been confirmed. And when asked about...
I have that game literally on PS4. I heard that the Trails of Cold Steel is a really good JRPG game. I want to buy it on PC so we can play it from the very beginning all the way to to the newest one. I heard it's a really good series. I played the first one for a little bit, but I had to drop it down or so because of real life situation was happening and a bunch of other shenanigans was happening. I'm not gonna go into it. So
about why they felt the necessity to go this route, why they didn't just put the game in a regular game card, they said the following. A representative, at least, responded with the following statement. We decided to release this title as a game key card on the Nintendo Switch 2 as we believe it was the most beneficial option for our customers.
Beneficial option for our customers. Man, dude, these people are smoking crack, to be honest. Oh man, dude, every cent counts. If I get it for free, I'm praying. If I get it off 30%, I'm praying. I'm praying full price. I buy but reluctant. Pay extra for nothing that matters. I'm a hop on for a crusade. How about instead of making physical media more expensive, we make digital media less expensive? That's crazy. It's funny because it's like, wait a minute, isn't it just like a bunch of codes or so that you just, when you finish your game or so, you just send it up, you just send it to like Sony or like Xbox, and then they just publish it on their platform digitally? I can never understand why they charge like the same price or so when it comes to like physical copies. I just can never understand that, but hey, that's just me, hey, what do I know, right?
Explain yourself. The physical media requires you to download, which means that when you get the game, you have to spend additional time actually downloading the game before you can dive into it. It's going to take up more storage on your already limited internal storage on your Nintendo Switch 2. You can opt to get a microSD card express, but those right now are really hard to get. They're selling out like crazy, especially the higher storage capacity microSD card expresses. Those are selling out. So storage right now especially is really limited, and so the download requirement means that taking up that extra storage space will be an inconvenience. And then of course there's the element of you get none of the benefits of physical media, where you get to insert the game card and play the game right there and then, and have a sense of autonomy over the product that you bought. That, this is something they cannot take away from you because it's in physical format. You're not dependent on the service providers to maintain servers and to keep them running. Game key cards are actually the least beneficial option for customers. They're the worst of both worlds. It's a digital product that still requires the inconvenience of carrying around a physical object that you have to insert into your console, and it's a physical product that requires you to download all of the game data and is still dependent on servers being maintained for you to have ownership over that game. So I don't know where they're getting this idea that game key cards are the most beneficial option for customers. That is a statement that isn't elaborated upon, which means that on some level they know that this is just, an empty statement. And another area where game key cards have plagued the Nintendo Switch 2 scene is in the way that they're not allowing for Switch 1 versions to be upgraded to Switch 2, and in the way that there's a separation between the physical editions of Switch 1 versions of games and Switch 2 versions of games. As highlighted in scenarios like Octopath Zero here, where in the Nintendo Switch 1 version of the physical media, it is a regular game card where all the game data is housed within the physical media, but the Nintendo Switch 2 version is a game key card. And so what enthusiasts were hoping for is that they could get the Switch 1 version of the game and get a proper physical media and then have an upgrade path towards the Switch 2 version.
You know what meme reminds me of this? When they're trying to think smarter, so like the Nintendo customers are trying to think smart and everything like that. This is what I think every single time. For literally.
You're right. That's a fifth floor problem.
Not in my house.
That's literally straight up Nintendo. They're like, oh, I'm gonna try to work a way around it and buy the Nintendo Switch 1 version and then upgrade it afterwards. No.
While it's still not the most ideal way because you still have to download something to get the Switch 2 upgrades, at least you have some kind of physical media that you can use to play the entire game from the game cartridge itself and not be dependent on other companies to have some kind of playable form of the title. That is something that
you will literally suffer there because you guys decided to buy this thing. I'm just sitting back here drinking my tea, eating some popcorn, and just watching the shit show, you know? I get to sit here with a very smug ass face and be like, yep, that's what you get. That's what you get. So either the fan base needs to control their elitists that likes to suck down freaking Nintendo's cock, or just sit there and take it. One of the two. That's it.
That is not being offered by companies who are releasing their games both on Switch 1 and Switch 2. So for example, Square Enix confirmed right here that it is not possible to upgrade from the Switch 1 version to the Switch 2 version once purchased. There are also no plans for an option to upgrade to Switch 2 version in the future. Please make sure you purchase the correct version, which means that if you purchase the Switch 1 version of the game, you are stuck with the lower resolution, the lower performance of the Switch 1 edition. Even if you play it on the Nintendo Switch 2, you do get the physical media, but you're essentially left with a version of the game that doesn't take advantage of the new hardware. And if you get the Switch 2 version, you do get all the enhancements and upgrades that the Switch 2 version features, but you don't get all the game files in the cartridge. You get that game key card. So there's no option to get both. There's
just you can always play it on a emulator. Oh, wow. Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry.
a separation that feels woefully unnecessary to me. And the same applies for Trails Beyond the Horizon. Fans were hoping that wouldn't be the case, but Nintendo Life asked NIS America if there is a possibility to upgrade from the Switch 1 version to the Switch 2 version, because like Octopath Traveler 0, Trails Beyond the Horizon has a Switch 1 version that is a regular game card and a Switch 2 version that is a game key card, but NIS America was unable to confirm whether Trails Beyond the Horizon will have a Switch 1 to Switch 2 upgrade path. Now, this is not them shutting down the
It means no
possibility entirely, but this is not something they're actively working on either. And I would bet that it's not something they're going to ultimately implement. I think there is going to be that separation between the Switch 1 physical edition and the Switch 2 physical edition with this title as well. And you got a similar situation with Sonic Shadow Generations, as posted here by Speeding in the Mania, where they report how it's been confirmed that this is a game keycard title for the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's not upgradable from the Switch 1 version, whose physical media does house the full game files inside the cartridge. It reads right here, give us a free upgrade patch, Sega, for those who bought this game not even a year ago. Let them know this isn't acceptable. So that's another...
Oh, what's wrong, Nintendo fans? What's wrong? Why are you guys getting upset, huh? Didn't you guys want this, huh? Why are you questioning? Just consume. Why are you asking questions? Just sit there and consume, you know? Crazy, huh? Crazy, huh? Crazy how immediately they start turning once after the honeymoon phases disappears after their Mario Kart World and their freaking Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Area where game keycards are being criticized, where Switch 1 versions of those games can house all the game data inside the cartridge, but with a Switch 2 version, they opted for game keycards, and that separation means that upgrade paths are really limited. And so, as more time goes by, the detriments of...
You know what? Tectone is probably right. We should probably bring back bullying, to be honest. Just to bully these people, you know? We should bring them back. You know, we should bring back bullying just to bully these kinds of individuals who think, you know, defending a fucking corporation and their actions is the best thing, you know? We should totally do it.
Game key cards are becoming more glaringly obvious. And it's something that numerous entities have spoken out about, including, you know, CEOs of game companies. So right here we have Stephen Kick, CEO of remaster specialist Night Dive Studios, who said, speaking to gamesindustry.biz, seeing Nintendo do this is a little disheartening in regards to game keycards. You would hope that a company that big that has such a storied history would take preservation a little more seriously.
Did you see that they started fucking copyright striking YouTubers for preservation of fucking songs of video games and like other stupid shit? I'm like, come on, man. Come on, dude. Where have you been, bro? Where have you been, man? Come on, man. I've been here since the very beginning with Nintendo's shenanigans, you know? Took you long
Even
enough,
shareholders brought up concerns during a recent shareholders meeting, as reported here by gamesindustry.biz. The article reports that shareholders also expressed apprehension regarding game keycards, and Nintendo's response, specifically Furukawa, the CEO, said that they're continuing to work closely with publishers to support the various distribution methods offered on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is a very non-answer. That doesn't say anything about all the concerns surrounding that format. And
sure they are. And then you know, if that's true, then I am a freaking I'm a femboy with a BBC that weighs 500 pounds and it's AI. Yes. Oh, and a black apparently. Yes. So
he continues, this is one of the new software distribution methods we've introduced to accommodate the larger game data sizes on Switch 2 compared to Switch. Except game companies who are releasing games whose game data sizes aren't even that big are still using that method just to cheapen out on the physical media side of things, while screwing over customers when it comes to what the expectations are and what the advantages are of physical media, and leaving them with, again, the worst of both worlds, the worst parts of physical media and the worst parts of digital media. And then they conclude with, software can be released in various formats and will continue to work closely with software publishers on many fronts to ensure that they actively support our platform. So again, it's a very empty statement that basically says we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and game key cards basically will remain. Like, this is not something that Nintendo seems to intend to discontinue as a format. Now,
sucks to be a Nintendo fanboy right now. Really does suck to be one right now.
Some folks are saying that there might be some hope in the way that Nintendo has been sending out surveys about game key cards, and in those surveys, I've sent out 2 already. They do ask about specifically game key cards and physical media that require digital downloads. They basically ask here how much that influences your purchase decision. And the hope is that the vast majority of people who took the survey picked definitely would not buy, in the hopes that Nintendo gets the message, but also the general masses don't really care because there's a lack of awareness of the advantages and disadvantages, the pros and cons between, you know, proper physical media and digital media, and then that in between of game key cards, and the way that gives you, again, the worst of both worlds. And so long as the masses just continue buying this stuff and none of this ultimately ends up being financially detrimental to Nintendo, as long as it continues to be an enthusiast issue, enthusiasts being like in the, you know, minority of the general mass population, I get the sense that as long as Nintendo doesn't feel like they have an obligation or that it's impacting the company and the shareholders negatively, they'll just keep doing this, you know, what is, for lack of better words, an anti-consumer practice, because they know they can get away with it, and because it's convenient, and because they don't really seem to care that much about the issue of games preservation and the idea of people feeling a semblance of ownership over the product that they purchased. You know, having...
Hey man, the customers made the Nintendo Switch 2 the most fastest growing console, right? Question mark. They sold like, what, they sold like an absurd amount of like like millions of units or so. So, hey man, you guys decided to choose to vote for that. So that ain't, like I said, that ain't my problem.
Being access to the products that they bought for as long as they take care of the products that they bought. I guess only time will tell how this game key card situation will proceed moving forward. I get the sense that we're transitioning further and further into a fully digital era, and we have seen the consequences of that already, with plenty of games having just completely disappeared from the face of the planet, and with movements like Stop.
Well, maybe third-party games should probably move towards somewhere else, you know? I don't think, you know, if they wanna be able to get some like good money and shit like that and stuff like that, right? I suggest the business plan move is to move away from it. So hit them where it hurts, where Nintendo hurts, which is the money. If they can't generate money, well then, you know, what do you expect, you know? They're gonna have to revert it back, you know, they're gonna have to change. But if they keep buying it or so, right? If the Nintendo fanboys just keep constantly buying them without any problems, without any remorse or anything like that, it's kind of like, you know. Well, you already know those Nintendo fanboys will buy anything if they slap a Mario on anything, so.
Killing Games, which recently garnered a lot of traction and seems to be doing really well and seems to be headed towards legislation. Being there to essentially warn and to essentially create rules and laws that will allow the prevention of not only the loss of games on a permanent level, but also, you know, respecting the basic concept of commerce, where when you spend money on a product, you should have autonomy over your ability to access that product and use that product. And so we'll see how all of this will play out as time passes, but so far game key cards have proven to be woefully unpopular among enthusiasts, and the disadvantages of that format continue to reveal themselves as more time passes. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned.
You wanna know what I think? You know, you wanna know what I truly think? I don't care. I don't care, you know? PC, so I would have no reason to really buy it for third-party games. I feel bad for people who want to buy third-party games on it. Yeah, I do feel bad for them, don't get me wrong, you know, like, you know, but at the end of the day, they let the vocal minority literally vote for their wallet and were shouting the most, you know? They didn't tell them to stop. They didn't bully them. They didn't do anything. They just kind of like just sat there and just lied down, you know? I'm like, at the end of the day, you guys bought the Nintendo Switch 2. You made it the most best-selling game, or you said what? You did fucking Mario Kart best-selling game and the best-selling console of this year. So it was funny to see people that hated on the Nintendo Switch 2 bought it. Yeah, some ordinary gamer, you know. For me, I hate Nintendo Switch 2. I hate the business practices it's doing. And guess what? I didn't even buy one because I don't support it. That's the reason why. So, like I said, I don't support dumb business practices. I just don't. I don't support some stuff like that. Like, especially what Sony has been doing too with the, you know, they stopped like the whole dumb censorship thing. That's when I like literally transitioned over to PC, because they started censoring like anime games and like all this other shenanigans. They were basically getting rid of their actual like core fan base of the anime stuff. So that's why I switched over to PC, because I wasn't gonna deal with any of that shit, to be honest. So, but yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. But yeah, I personally have no remorse. Sorry, but like, you guys decided to choose this. It's not my problem, so you guys can fix it. We tried to warn you guys, but you guys wouldn't want to listen. You think we're being negative Nancy's. We're farming drama bait. We're like, you know, just a bunch of drama YouTubers. How care about third-party games? We all need a Donkey Kong and a Mario Kart. Pokemon Legends ZA and Duskblood is released next. Nintendo's looking stronger than ever. Okay, buddy, sure. Anyways, yeah, you know, it's just like, I'm sorry. What do you want us to do? We warned you guys not to buy it, but you guys still bought it at the end of the day. So I didn't buy it. I chose to vote with my wallet. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. Hey man, they decided to do it at the end of the day. That's their problem. So hey man, they started it, they can deal with it. Anyways, the YouTubers, the Nintendo YouTubers will probably have to, like, those are probably like your only saviors. Is literally the people who covered Nintendo stuff are your only saviors to go against Nintendo, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's the end of the video. And sorry, but not sorry. Peace.